When I first got started woodworking, I didn't really know a whole lot about wood. I kind of still don't. The first knife handle that I ever made, for this knife, in fact, I made that out of red oak, which I didn't know for the tools that I had was a bad choice because it has very large pores, which would show on the finished product and make the surface a little bit uneven. And that's just a character of the wood. There's no way around that other than to choose something with smaller pores. And so I started looking around for like some kind of like mass wiki or something like that had all the information about all the woods. The closest thing that I've been able to find, and I did find something, is the wood database. There's a little bit to be desired there, but they give you so much information. Now when I'm deciding on a project, I can actually look up the properties of the woods that I'm considering. And I'm not just guessing based on what's available to me. Like, I'm still looking for a hardwood dealer in my area because that's something that I found out you can just kind of walk in for, at least on some of them. Before that, most of my woods that weren't just pine came from Menards. And there's no one at Menards you can ask about the properties of wood. And if you do, you are very likely to get a random person's best guess. Like this knife here, the handle was made out of aspen, which if you know anything about wood, you're probably wincing when I say that. I'm going to go into my adventure on that as I talk about the things that the wood database provides. So you know that some woods are harder than others. Oak is harder than pine. But how much harder? And how do you measure hardness? Well, it turns out that there is, in fact, an official scientific rating system for wood hardness, and it's listed on the page for every wood in the wood database. Here's the one for oak, and here's the one for pine. You see how big the difference is between those? That's red oak and eastern white pine, because those are the ones that are near me. And I know that those are the ones that are near me because, well, it says red oak on the label when I'm buying it, but eastern white pine is my best guess based on all of the other information that they have. The color, the pictures, the pore size, the natural growth ranges, all of that matches the wood that I have, so I'm probably using eastern white pine. Some other information that they have. They don't just tell you how hard it is, but also how flexible it is and how much force it takes to crush the fibers. How much does it shrink this way? How much does it shrink this way? And how much does it shrink volumetrically, like total? And they have that information for every single wood they've got. They have workability notes, like it's good for sanding, but it has a high silica content, so be ready to sharpen your cutters a lot. They talk about common price points for this. They talk about common uses. How sustainable is it? Like, is it being commercially grown? Is it endangered? That's another thing. They'll tell you if it's on any endangered lists. All of that is really valuable information, and there's basically nobody that you can ask. So most of the time when I'm picking out wood for a project, I am looking at that wood, trying to find it in the wood database, then looking at that wood and trying to find that in the wood database and comparing. That's why I can see that aspen was really terrible. See, one of the things that I learned from going through the wood database and comparing a whole bunch of different kinds of wood is that as hardness increases, for the most part, the total amount that changes, like grows and shrinks, also increases, with a couple of weird outlier exceptions. Here's the numbers for oak again, and here's the numbers for pine again. You see how much more stable pine is than oak for the hardness difference between them. When I talk about outliers, like from memory, I think mahogany is one that has an unusual profile for that. Like compare that to walnut, black walnut, and I think African mahogany. I'm doing this from memory. I don't have notes or anything. But you see how much different the shrinkage is on the... Well, it turns out that one of them, the one that's highlighted right now, is an outlier for that. Anyway, back to my original point. Generally speaking, as a wood gets softer, it also becomes more stable. It doesn't change size as much. Except for aspen, which is what this is made of. It's the worst of all worlds. And I'm going to be using the wood database all the time now when I'm making decisions about things. For example, pine, red cedar. Look at the different hardnesses on those. They're both relatively easy to machine, but there's a notable advantage on one side. Alright, share this video.